I would say the island and the council of ministers, I think all were pretty much shocked yesterday when there was a meeting of the council of ministers and in which a motion was passed bringing a motion of confidence against the council of ministers. I personally was on my way back from New York where I was attending the United Nations General Assembly meeting with the Dutch delegation, the Kingdom delegation, together with the Prime Minister of Curacao and the Prime Minister of Aruba. And when landing and transiting in Puerto Rico is when we got the news via the media, the phones and the WhatsApps and the BB that there was a motion on confidence brought against my government. As responsible ministers, we immediately upon arriving, I called a meeting, extraordinary meeting of the Council of Ministers, in which we analyzed and discussed the matter and subsequently continued to seek the necessary advices from several legal and constitutional advisors on how we should proceed. We took a look at a motion, and first of all, the Parliament has their rights to take whatever decision they would like to take. But in particular, seeing that, as far as I've been informed, that the agenda point was to discuss the state of affairs of government-owned companies. And I think I asked any minister if any of them were invited to Parliament to be able to have a debate with the Parliament about the specific agenda point, which is the government-owned companies. My members in the Council of Ministers informed me that none were requested to be there. And as such, the meeting took place about the government-owned companies without a minister being present. So obviously, there was a lack of debate, or probably it was not the intention to have a debate about the conditions of the company. We bring that up just for, to be established as a fact. If you're going to have a debate about an issue, we would expect that the minister responsible or a minister would be called to give account. We have seen, in particular in this last 9 months, that for the Parliament, for every issue, even laws to be discussed in the Central Committee, they make use of the opportunity of calling on a minister to come simply to have a debate in a Central Committee meeting, which is a technical meeting, and which gives the Parliament the opportunity within themselves to debate technically about the law that's on the agenda or it's on the to be discussed. However, we took note of the motion. It is Parliament's right to take any decision that they like, and wherever the majority goes. And but after analyzing the motion, we have looked at it, in particular the consideration that says that the government of St. Martin is oblivious to the urgent needs of the people of St. Martin, such as healthcare, security, pension, employment, housing, and to name a few. The blatant disrespect for Parliament of St. Martin, the untenable situation at most government companies and other entities, such as the Cadastre and the St. Martin Housing Development Foundation, the lack of leadership in and by government, and absence of a measurable program of the government. We are not here to contradict, nor to get in any debate on any issue that Parliament has put in their motion. However, I think certain things need some clarity, and I would like to put some light on that matter and bring some clarity to the points that were placed in the consideration. And after I've spoken, several ministers are free to join in and add their 2 cents to this debate. When the Parliament says that there was the absence of a measurable program of the government, I mean, everybody in this country knows that we've been through a process where the program coming from the politique was delayed, and we did say that, and we did eventually get a program. And it beats me to understand why they would say the absence of a measurable program when, particularly in this case, 3 of the people who signed the motion were part of the same program that that was accepted and presented to government, to this government. So again, that's a point. I would call it a contradiction in terminus that has been presented there. I just want to touch on another one, the lack of leadership in and by government. I think taking in consideration the circumstances and the conditions that this government met when we sat on December 19th, it is clear that the challenges and so that we've met, and I've said on many times, we've spent about 6 to 8 months just out in fires we didn't start and cleaning up mess that we did not put down. When we go back to one of the considerations talking about the untenable situation at the Smart Housing Foundation, Development Foundation, this one really caught my attention simply because, and I've said this before, when the time was ripe for the former government under the leadership of Mrs. Westcott Williams and with Minister Maurice Lake at VROMI, when they had to take the decision in the Council of Ministers to reappoint members that government has on the board of the Housing Foundation, they declined that and postponed it and said, leave the new government take that decision. And it shocks me, well, it doesn't really shock me because I know the two personalities, but what happened, both of them knew or they did not read the Articles of Incorporation that states that the appointment of those new members was tied to a time limit. And as a result, the time limit expired and government lost the control to appoint those 3 members on the board of the Smart Housing Foundation. With the result that the present board, the board that was there, consisting of 3 members, the Articles of Incorporation gave them the full rights to appoint the candidates to fill those positions. So as a result, to put it clear bluntly in normal terms, the government, this government and other future government lost the control of appointing members on the board, the supervisory board of the foundation, simply because of the laxness or probably the ignorance of the former 2 ministers not being taking the decision and the time expired. The motion reads that a Gums cabinet consisting of the ministers Marcel Gums, Martin Hassink, Dennis Richardson, Rita Bond Gums, Claret Connor, Raphael Boseman, Ernest Sams no longer enjoys the confidence of the Parliament and goes over to the order of the day. We have taken this motion, as I said, we studied it, and we sought legal advice on the procedure, and also particularly in making use of Article 59 of the Constitution that says that the Parliament could be dissolved by a resolution and that new elections can be called. Last evening, the Council of Ministers, after as I said before, receiving extended invitation, not extended invitation, but extended advice from different legal persons, we forwarded we took a decision on the Landsbesluyt, the resolution to dissolve Parliament and to call elections, and we have forwarded this to the governor with a request for him to sign it. We are awaiting the response of the governor on this matter, and we would await that. But we feel that at this moment, what this country has been going through for the last 5 years, there's only this way we can do. We've gone down the road 4 times already of forming governments. And what happened? They have not lasted more than a year. And the people of St. Martin and the country do not deserve this treatment from our political establishment. And we feel, and we are convinced, that the time has come for us to go back to the public and give them the opportunity to go to the polls and, again, elect a new set of people to take their position and represent the people in the Parliament. We have passed becoming the laughing stock of the world. I've said before in a press conference and in the media, I've made 3 trips representing this beautiful country on an international platform, international level. And the burning question when I went to Tortola in February was, Mr. Prime Minister, explain me, How can you have a country that gets 3 governments in 4 years? I visited Washington early this year, and at the World Bank and at the Central Bank, at the World Bank and at State Department, the question was asked, do you have stability? Because stability is important. I was just at the United Nations, and again, the question pops up on Monday. Are you going to be able, is St. Martin going to have a stable government? Well, to my surprise, while I was flying 33,000 feet, the government fell. But it's not about Marcel Gums being prime minister. It is not about Claret being minister. It's not about Martin. It's not about Dennis being minister of justice. It's not about Rita. It's not about Rafi. It's not about Sam. It's not about us being in government. It's about this country. And we are not calling elections because we feel that we have to stay as minister. Each one of us have other things that we would like to do. We've dropped those things and we have come and joined this government to try and make a difference and to lead this country in the right direction. So it is not about we trying to hold on to any job. There will be no standoff. There will be no Mexican standoff. There will be no Samaritan standoff. There will be no fight to remain seated on any seat. But the people of this country deserve better. The people of this country deserve an opportunity once more to go to the polls and to analyze all those who have been elected in the past, and in the last election in particular, and make up their mind. If the people decides that they want the same players back into Parliament, God bless the people, good to the people. But guess what? Let them, continue that way. But we believe very strongly, very, very strongly, that the time is right for us to make use of Article 59 that is provided in the Constitution of Country St. Martin. And there's going to be a lot of discussion and a lot of arguments about whether yes or whether not, whether there's 8 that signed yes. But you know what? The big question is, we got 8. Already this morning I'm getting information, they're working to expand it to 9, to 10, or to 15. But the point is, what can we expect 6 months from now? What can we expect a year from now? Are we going to go through again? I just want to bring to your attention the challenge is that every time a government changes, every time a government changes, the minister comes in with his own cabinet, a new cabinet. They have to find out what is in the files. There's a delay. The organization itself has to get accustomed, got to know what the plan is. We get a new program. Our marketing people, everybody that's involved with St. Martin has to stop and readjust or redirect. And it is not, at the end of the day, trust me, it is not doing anything good to this country. Thank you. The word is for any other minister to add. Yes, yes.
Prime Minister and all the other ministers, based on Article 59, can you tell me if the Council of Ministers who were basically fired from their job has the right to now write a Landsbesluit or any resolution asking to dissolve Parliament? Does this article stipulate that?
We feel, with the advices that we have the council ministers have all rights to make use of this Article 59 and present it in a federal resolution for signature by the governor.
Prime Minister Gums, you met with the governor this morning. You said you forwarded this last night. Yes. Did the governor give you any indication whether or not this Council of Ministers minister has that right to utilize Article 59? Because if I can remember correctly, and let's go back, like you spoke about the 3 governments that we've had in the last governing period, I remember the National Alliance tried the same thing. When they tried to dissolve Parliament, it was rejected. So I'm asking today, do we stand a chance of having this Council of Ministers or the governor approving your resolution to have new elections?
My conversations with the governor are private, and I'm not at liberty to divulge that, the conversation we had with the governor. We have, as I said, we are working with our advisors. We see there's a way that for us to use it, and if it was not to be used, why would it be in the Constitution? Okay, so we are not commenting on what we discussed with the governor. We have been clear. We found there is an article in the Constitution. Whoever wrote the Constitution, there had to be a reason why it was put there. And those who approved the Constitution in countries leading up to Country St. Martin, maybe they should give some clarification. Maybe they didn't want the article in it, but it is there. And we think it's a modern article in modern constitutions where there's a balance between executive and legislative branch. And it's been used all over the place, all over within the kingdom.
My final question for this round, Mr. Prime Minister, and I think Minister Hassink. Recently, we got an instruction, a targeted instruction from the CFT for the lack of finance because St. Martin cannot basically pay off certain debts. Do we have money to hold a new election?
Yes, we have money to hold a new election. Elections are, there is enough money to hold an election. We have an instruction, yes, and I want to elaborate on that a little more. We have an instruction. Again, it's part of the package that we received when we came in. We are dealing with debts built up in the last 4 years by the former government under the leadership of Mrs. Westcott Williams, by the pension fund and at SZV. We have been working the 9 months very heavy to get a solution to them. We think we are almost there. With finding a solution to that. But yes, there is money for the elections on the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions, Bibi. Judy, you have the floor. Good morning to all ministers present. Yes, Judy from the Daily Herald. I just want to follow up immediately on the question asked by my colleague. You said there is sufficient money on the budget to hold new elections. Can you indicate what amount?
I think it's somewhere, I don't know, somewhere between 150,000.
Okay, and
there's no, let me, yeah, new government costs money too, but to be correct with you, there is, because you're probably going to go find out and somebody's going to say, but there's no post on the budget for 2015 for any election because 2015 was not considered an election year, okay? So you will not find the post-election on the budget. However, in government, and there's always a provision to make the necessary quick adjustments under the Ministry of General Affairs that organizes elections, and that money could be made available.
And regarding the issue of dissolving Parliament, do you really think that would solve the problem? Because it seems as if it's just putting a Band-Aid on the issue, because even if the electorate goes to the polls again and we have 15 new or the same MPs, the problem can still happen again and we would be back in this. I mean, so is it really the way to solve the problem?
Well, look, there's two ways of solving a problem, okay? What have we done from 2010 to present? Every time there was a government, we went down the left road, right? Reconstruct, reform, form a new one, before it form, another one form. So let us try the road to the right now. Let us go down this road, which the Constitution gives us, Article 59 gives us. The people are tired of these changes in government every minute, so give the people an opportunity now to go down the road on the right side, and let us do elections. Let us try something new.
And my final question for this round, should the governor deny that request, then is the Council of Ministers prepared then to submit their resignations?
Well, we haven't reached that bridge yet. When we reach that bridge, we will cross it.
Right, we haven't reached there yet, but should it be the case? I mean...
I don't know. I wish I would know what's going to happen tonight.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister.
You are so welcome.
Thank you very much, Judy, for your questions. Mr. Hilbert Haar, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, Hilbert.
Prime Minister, when do you expect an answer from the governor? And when you have that answer, will we then have elections within 3 months? Is there a period for that?
Well, in the resolution that, in the Landsbesleit that we have forwarded to the governor, it is stated the new parliament, when elected, would convene on the 30th of December. Dacht de stemming van de verkiezing, but the election would be on the 8th and
8th of
December.
December?
Yes, and the kandidaatstelling would be on the 19th of November. That's what we requested the government to take in consideration in the Landsbesleit.
And then the parliament would be installed on December 30, correct?
Ja, samenkomen van het nieuwe op 30 december.
Okay, thank you.
That's in the resolution that we have, the Landsbesleit that we have forwarded to the governor.
Now, second question, how many members of the current Council of Ministers are younger than 60?
Just two.
Yeah, it's a serious question.
Now, the serious question, well, I'm glad for that question because I've been asked, first of all, if Minister Rita Bourne-Gums and myself, if we received 2 salaries for the period that we were holding down 2 ministries. No, we receive 1 salary for the whole period that we were carrying out 2 portfolios, and knowing Mrs. Bourne-Gums and myself, we carried out with much pleasure and much love for this country, and we never made a request for any additional payment, not for overtime. There is 2 members that is under 60. I don't want to divulge anybody's age. I will start on my right. I think Rita Bourne-Gums is not at 60 yet, far from, and Mr. Claret Connor is also far from. But Minister Hassink, Minister Richardson, Minister Bosman, and Minister Sams, and the Prime Minister, we are all over 60. What that means is that we are not eligible for any pension for the work we have put in as minister. And we have all, trust me, have been doing it with a very, very deep love for country St. Martin.
Okay, thank you.
Hilbert, thank you very much for your questions. Round 2 begins. Bibi, you have the floor.
How many rounds do we go?
Just
5,
2 rounds.
Just a 5 round?
Just
Oh,
2
just 2
rounds.
rounds, okay.
2 rounds.
2 rounds, good. You want to go 12? With Bibi Shah?
With boxing. Good boxing. Prime Minister, I am so happy my colleague asked that question. How many members of the current cabinet is over 60?
Oh, I forgot one. Our Minister Plenipotentiary.
Yes.
Not that I keep forgetting her, but you know, she's also over 60.
She's
So-
over 60.
Yes, so this cabinet with the 8 ministers, based on my calculations, 6 is over 60. Your colleague just said the new government will cost money. If this current government with 6 ministers already over pension will not be getting a salary, they might not be getting any pension like you just said. The other 2 ministers that we have, Minister Rita Bourne-Gums, Minister Claret Connor, how many of them are civil servants and are entitled to go back to their jobs? So explain me where the new government will cost extra money.
I don't understand the question.
Your colleague said that there is money for a new election.
Yeah?
So I asked because of the CFT instruction, if we have money, we have an instruction because we don't have money, we don't pay our debts.
No, we have. Well,
yeah.
let me explain it first, and I would really make an appeal and encourage you to let us, get it in the right perspective.
That I would like very much.
Yes, because the part of the budget that is restricted because of the debt situation is the capital expenditures, so the investments, okay? That has a freeze on it. That is why the Minister of Justice cannot continue with the project of expanding the prison. That is why the relevant departments like VROMI cannot carry out infrastructure projects that is on the planning from in the beginning. That is why we can be building schools, because the capital services, capitaldienst of a budget is where government makes expenditure, investments, okay? The other part of the budget, the gewone dienst, that government can continue and use to carry out the daily operations of government. That is where the 150,000 guilders, if needed, for the elections will come from. The matter of who's civil servant, the Minister Rita Bourne is a school manager, and if anything happens, she'll be going back to her job. Mr. Claret is not a civil servant. He will be going back into the private sector. I don't know what Hassing will be doing. I don't know what Mr. Richardson will be doing. I don't know what Mr. Boseman will be doing. He probably will be, all of them will be probably making a contribution in their way with their experience and their knowledge to this society.
Prime Minister.
You don't want to know what he will be doing?
Huh? No. I think you misunderstood what I asked.
Well, maybe.
Your colleague said that when I said that if there's more money for election or if there's extra money for election, your colleague said to you, the new government will cost money also. What I'm trying to point out that we have 6 of the 8 ministers are already pensioners, which did not make a year. And I don't know if they're entitled to the salary until when. If they do, because according to what I know, if you're a pensioner, you're not entitled to a salary. So the only 2 that will probably be entitled to a salary is our minister, who is a school manager, who could go back to her job, and Minister Claret Connor, who probably may go back to the private sector. If I'm wrong, then correct me.
Well, I think the law should be read. I think the law says they will have to be sitting a year to come in consideration for any compensation. So we're far away from a year. December 19th would make us a year. So it will not cost us anything. I think you want to elaborate on that.
I want to add something. We always look at monetary cost, but there is also any change, if it is now by election or is it by just resigning and being replaced, it costs money, and specifically it costs productivity. Yes, because there is the period that you have to transfer really all the work you're busy with, and each minister has plans being executed, and in the middle they have to stop, and then it falls back automatically, and maybe it even changed, or it has cost in the past many times a lot of money, that projects started up, cancelled, and didn't lead to a result. And those, and again, it's not because of elections or not elections, it's the same. Any change cost money. And not only monetary, for instance, by giving wachtgeld, but specifically, I would say, production in the whole organization.
Yeah.
Just to add, and I don't have no clue how much that would be, but naturally the members of the cabinet of the ministers who have to go back into the private sector, you have to give them severance pay as well. That's part of it. So it costs money one way or the other.
One way or the other. Yeah. That's it?
Final question, Ms. Shaw.
My last question, I know you didn't answer my colleague. You said when you reach the bridge, you'll cross it. We all buy our tickets before we take a flight. What's plan B if the governor should give you a negative or positive on your resolution? We all have to prepare for things. So you said.
Our plan B will be discussed this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your questions, Ms. Shaw. Judy?
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Prime Minister, I just want to go back to the whole issue of the funds that you said can be made available for new elections. Do you have can you say how much elections in 2014 cost, and whether 150,000 would suffice covering the cost to hold the new elections?
I was informed couple months back, election 2014 cost government, that's with the preparation and everything, somewhere around 90,000, 90 to 100,000.
Okay.
Guilders.
Thank you so much for that. And I just have another question that doesn't have anything to do with this issue. Can you kindly say what the Council of Ministers has decided as it relates to the holiday for 10-10-10?
The minister will culture
Yes.
us that.
The council has decided, along with Parliament, as I took the law to Parliament, and members of Parliament thought instead of, for planning reasons especially, it would, and the council agreed that it would be more effective to have the holiday celebrated every second Monday in the month of October.
Every second Monday.
Every second Monday,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much, Mr.
That's the
Mr.
trend
Patrick.
nowadays of establishing holidays. Okay?
Hilbert?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Minister Hassink, how is this situation affecting the preparations for the 2016 budget, and what is the status of that budget?
That's
Oh,
a good question.
Good question.
Because as you know that before the end of October, we have to have a budget amendment 2015 being handled in Parliament, and that may become a bottleneck, and some other issues also in the timeline. As I just told you, there will be an interruption in the projects we're busy with, and that may hamper the whole course to go to an approval of the budget amendment for 2015. And as you know already, you spoke with the CFT. They have already their reserves on the budget amendment, so it becomes more difficult, yes. And specifically, I hope that we can get all the documents through Parliament in October. But
That's for the amendment.
that's for the amendment, and hopefully also some other documents concerning the pensionable age and those type of things, because those are also to be approved. The increase from pensionable age from 60 to 62.
Yeah.
It still has to be handled by the Parliament.
But what is the status of the 2016 budget?
The 2016 budget also, of course, will be now a little bit questionable, because if a new government comes in, then there may be other wishes. In principle, there is a draft budget 2016 ready that can go anytime to the Council of Ministers, and we have to discuss internally how we're going to handle that.
Okay, thank you. What's one other question? Yes, in case there are no elections, and so then the motion of Parliament stands. Given your experience with the screening process before this cabinet took office, how long do you think the outgoing cabinet will still be sitting there until the new team would be ready to come in?
Good question. I can't put a timeline on it. Screening is, depending on basically three different approaches. Screening is done by the cabinet of the governor, and the Secret Service, and the prosecutor, and they can be delayed, and I am in no position to talk or estimate how long it will take.